This is a video about Jonah, the story of Jonah and the whale, or the great fish. I'm going to use the terms interchangeably because it really doesn't matter. In the Torah, not the Torah, in the Nevi'im, the words they use is a big fish. But regardless, the story of Jonah is about a man who's in denial of his purpose, his true self, his reason for being on earth, his mission. And it's a story that happens to a lot of people. He has a mission that he wants to run away from. God tells him to do a big task, and he wants to get as far away from that as he possibly can. Now, for some of us, we're not running away from a task. We might be running to something that we shouldn't be running to. And Jonah may have had previous ambitions he was running that he wanted to have. But in any case, it was the main mission that he didn't want any part of, that God sent him on, which was to save the city of Nineveh, which was a city full of non-Jewish, sinful people. And God said to go there and to prophesy to them, to tell them to correct their ways. Now, the rabbis give some various reasons of why he would want to do this. But obviously, if you look at any of the stories of the prophets, when they go stay in Israel or wherever they are, usually in Israel, and they tell people, you all are messing up, you need to correct your ways before God destroys you all and gets mad. Usually these people aren't very popular. Look at Yirmiyahu, who ends up in a pit, and here's the civil war happening, and the invasion rather happening above him. Can't do anything about it. It's not an easy job. As Jordan Peterson says, I'm going to draw from him a lot, and from the Vilna Gaon in this impersonal experience, by the way. How popular do you think you're going to be if you go to a city and you tell them they're messing up and they need to sharpen their ways and stop sinning? Not going to be very popular. It's not going to be a fun job. But whether you're running from something or towards something you shouldn't be, which is mainly I'm going to focus on, I don't think it really matters. A lot of people are running toward ambition. They think they have talents or they have wants, and these are based on pride, arrogance, or maybe an honest feeling that God gave me certain talents and I should use them to become great or to succeed, whatever that means. Fame, money, whatever, recognition. But just because you are given an ability to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. I haven't figured out why God would give a person talents that he shouldn't use. But nevertheless, we see people martyr themselves all the time for the sake of becoming great as far as achievement or riches or whatever it is. And it seems to me that being great isn't at all it's cracked up to be. A lot of these people don't make it, and the people that do make it are often pretty miserable, horrible family people, and maybe very unhappy themselves, particularly artists. But for the regular above average overachiever, we see a few different results. We'll see a heart attack for somebody in their 50s. We'll see people have a psychotic break to schizophrenia or some other psychotic break. And this results from being overambitious and putting pressure on yourself that you can't handle, or accepting pressure from other people you can't handle, to achieve something that is beyond you and then the frustration creates a fury inside. And whatever ambitions you think you can make or strive to in life might not be the best thing, especially when the rabbis say that your principal job in life is to perfect your character and to be a happy, a well-functioning person psychologically first and a family man second before you do anything else. And that includes even learning advanced topics in Torah. So Jonah gets sent to this mission. He runs as far away as he thinks he can get, and he joins a ship. And this ship, depending on which commentaries you read, is filled with people that might have questionable morality or status, or just a ship full of guys. You look at Herman Melville. He talks about Jonah a lot in Moby Dick. The character Ishmael, ironic name for this story, is someone who has a death wish, is borderline suicidal, and he's basically going to join a merchant ship or whaling ship as a way to escape reality. And he ends up on the whaling ship, which is a microcosm of all these different cultures mixed together, getting along harmoniously, and by the way. And but in any event, Jonah gets to the ship, and the ship has trouble in the water because God is angry at Jonah and causes a storm. And the people on the ship, the sailors, do not attempt to go back to land when they're caught in a storm. They don't figure they're obviously going to make it, and they decide they don't really have they don't have the prophetic capabilities to figure out who it is, and the moral sense to figure out who it is. So they draw lots to figure out who is the sinner that God is angry at. And Jonah says, "It's me. Don't worry." He has some sort of conscience about it, but also it has pushed him off the edge to realize that he's not going to get away with what he wants to get away with. And rather than accepting his destiny or fighting for what he wants, he decides to quit life altogether. Because when they say to throw him overboard, he says to throw them overboard. He's basically saying, kill me. That's going to be it. But God won't let him off that easily. He's not going to let him any easy way out. Vilna Gaon says this about the soul who wants to go, does not want to be put into a body, invested in the body, in the world. He doesn't want any part of it. So when Jonah thinks he's being thrown over the side of the ship, he thinks that's it, he's going to die. And God says no. So God takes the fish and grabs Jonah and swallows him. Now God in the Torah and in the Nevi'im, he doesn't create things that are like man-made things. He uses the things that are created by God, animals and nature. So you can think of the fish, the whale, as basically a prison. That's what it is. He grabs Jonah and goes to the bottom of the ocean where escape is impossible. And it's not like Jonah's in any danger. He's safe. He can stay there indefinitely, I venture to say. He's not allowed out. He doesn't get out. The only way out is to figure out what his destiny is and to make some sort of change inside. And that's the only possibility for him. Other than that, he has nothing he can do. And some people will be quick to tell you, said, well, how did he get out of the fish? He prayed. But that doesn't really answer the question. What did he pray for? Basically, he's accepting his destiny. And That's not to say that his destiny is going to be fun or he's going to live happily ever after, and he doesn't, actually. And he's chastised for not having the same sympathy for the people of Nineveh that he did for a wilting plant that he tried to nurture and keep from the sun. He did have some sympathy for the people on the ship, it seems, maybe. But anyway, that was his job, and that was what he's supposed to do. If people put pressure on themselves and they overwork themselves, they become impatient and nasty, and they can destroy relationships around themselves. And eventually, with all these different directions and all this pressure pushing them in downward and all these places they're trying to go, frustration will ensue, will have a couple of different things have effects. And you see a lot. You see like a nervous breakdown, or if carried to extreme, a psychotic event, or a schizophrenic break, which is similar. Schizophrenic break is when people's delusions of grandeur become actual, literally clinical delusions. Or an early heart attack, I think would be equivalent. These are all catastrophes, and to recover from them, people have to completely reevaluate who they are and what their purpose is, because what they were doing wasn't working, and they're not capable of doing it. It's one thing to have ambition and drive and talent and seek after something, but if your body can't handle it, then it can't handle it. If your mind can't handle it, then it can't handle it. And it might not be your purpose. And some may say that this is a fatalistic way to look at things. And we believe in free choice. And the American dream, it goes far beyond that. And in fact, in my opinion, is worse. That people can pursue things and achievement and goals. And that this is not a vice, this is a noble pursuit. But it will break the person, break many people who are too ambitious. And the only difference between someone who doesn't have a heart attack or a psychotic break and someone who does is that the people that have the break or have the injury, they get the benefit at least of having the catastrophe and hopefully being able to pull themselves out of that in some way, rebuild and realize what's important in life. But there are also a great many people who are headed in that direction and never quite get there. And they may achieve some things, sort of, but inside they're torn apart and they don't really realize it. And they're hypocrites. And they're miserable people to be around. And they violate their own ethics. And they don't realize that they're destroying their own destiny, and destroying their family, which is their true legacy. Because in 100 years, as I heard one woman say in a documentary once, who cares who ran GE 100 years from now? Who cares who's the president of CEO of GE? What's important is you and your family and how you treat people. That's the work of a person. The main work of a person. You know, if there wasn't any GE, you just get your toaster somewhere else. My toaster might be a little different, but there'll always be toasters. It doesn't really matter. But how you affect other people in the world is important. And you have a legacy of children and grandchildren that becomes astronomically large if you look at it multi-generationally. So, many people are acting insanely, but they never have that break. Because they violate basic principles that they stand by on their way to work, cut people off in the street, cause accidents, or are rude to people, creating misery in their own lives, and it's to pursue some ideal. Well, you're violating a more basic ideal by not treating people nicely, not treating yourself nicely, and not being the person you're supposed to be. If what you're doing is making you unhealthy, that's not what you're supposed to be. So again, people may say that this is fatalistic, but as Jordan Peterson would say, you try arguing with your fighting your destiny. Try fighting it and see how far it gets. It may be a harsh reality. It may be a harsh set of rules that God set up for us. But that's how reality works. If you try to do something that you can't do, you're not supposed to do, you're not built for it. No matter how bad you want it, how hard you work, and how talented you are, you're going to fail. You're going to be miserable trying, or have a breakdown and then have to start over. And there are a lot of people out there like that. A lot of people like that. And people text while they're driving on their way to work because they have too many things to do on their mind, and they're endangering people's lives. They're not living in the present. They're living for some goal that they're not going to get to. And people will get raised saying that you can achieve whatever you want if you put your mind to it, and go for your dreams, and that's all nonsense. They say it's part of the American ideal, American dream. And that's not really true. The idea of America in the beginning was just, I'd like to be able to try and have a normal existence without having to deal with prejudice or excessive, oppressive government on me. It doesn't say you have to create, you have to be rich, or you have to create a monster giant company like GE. I'm picking on GE a lot today. That's not what it means. It just means I'd like to be left alone. I'd like people to mind their own business so I can be left alone, and we can all do what we think we have to do. And it's morphed into this sort of self-worship of achievement. And very few people are going to be able to realize that. And most of the few that do are despicable people. A lot of the people at the top. The highest concentration of psychopaths, sociopaths, is our CEOs. And that's a clinical fact. You can look it up. And Melville also talks about this when he writes The Confidence Man, and he sees where, and another story I forget the name of, where he sees where the American ideal, the capitalist ideal, will eventually lead to. Not that I'm against capitalism or anything. I'm just saying, he wrote The Confidence Man, kind of in the era of, I think around P.T. Barnum era, or maybe before that. But he had the realization that if you take this idea too far, it all becomes like a big con. It leads to, it's an amoral way of living. So, that's Jonah. And if you've ever had the opportunity, privilege, or curse to be put in the whale's belly and had to rethink and redo your entire life, it's true.